About 24 hours ago, I did a video where I suspected that the silver sentiment smelled of desperation. And I was right. And before I had mentioned the Libertad, and I found the Libertad, here it is. Okay. But yes, I had detected the silver sentiment smacked of desperation. And desperation leads to panic. And today we had a panic. Silver had a big down day today. Silver right now is $17.79 on the bid at Kitco. 73 cents in one day is a pretty big fall at these levels. And I explained that there's a lot of desperation I was seeing all over the blogosphere. And I've been doing this for years on YouTube. And I see a lot of comments. I look at a lot of blogs. I get feedback. I see people comment on my older videos. Essentially right now I'm getting less than 2,000 views is typical for a video, which is fine. I used to get over 10,000 views. In 2009-10 area, 2 years in a row, I was voted the top silver channel based upon comments and views. When I was celebrating silver, when it was going up, I would literally get thousands and thousands of views, not a single thumbs down, as my cheering reflected the bullish sentiment so well. Max Kaiser 2 years in a row had listed the top silver channels as opposed to how Google rates them in 2 years in a row. That was me based upon the feedback I got from my viewers. Now I'm getting less than 10,000. I'm getting less than 2,000 views once silver started going like this. And I see that actually as a badge of honor, because from what I've studied, in any market where there's speculation, like 80% of the people will lose their money. And if 80% of the people no longer watch me, maybe that's a good sign for what I'm trying to say. But that is speculation, and what I'm saying in itself on my speculation. So there's this website called comparesilverprices.com, and on that site you can now get monster boxes of silver for less than 10 grand each. You can buy a monster box of Philharmonics for $9,915, a monster box of Maples for $9,935, and that is quite a change. And on these numbers we're seeing, these numbers aren't just arbitrary numbers that are abstract. These numbers are like real selling and real losses. On this comparesilverprices.com, you can go to many different sites that buy and sell silver, and guess what? Any place that buys and sells silver essentially is an exchange. Now the COMEX is a monstrous, gigantic exchange, and a lot of the buying and selling, the metal doesn't actually trade hands. They are buying and selling the promise for silver, but they don't actually change hands, but the ability is there. So on these exchanges, you can see that these the prices and premiums were being lowered today. I was talking to someone, a conversation about this, and silver fell 20 cents within the period of our conversation alone. And we were talking about that, and you know, if there was a wrong price for silver in the other exchanges, there would be an arbitrage opportunity, which means you could buy from one exchange and sell to the other at a profit. There is always a small difference in each exchange, but when the difference is big enough, someone will buy from one exchange and sell to another. Right now, in the free world, we can still freely buy and sell from one exchange to another. So if there is a price that is artificially high or low in one exchange, a lot of speculators will buy from one exchange and sell to the other exchange. So that's my opinion on that. Now, is it manipulated, blah, blah, blah? Well, there's a lot of big buyers who throw their capital around and so forth. But the fact of the matter is, at these prices, in addition to there not being shortages, the premiums are being lowered on physical silver, showing the dealers have ample inventory, and it's growing, because if they keep lowering premiums and they lower the price, it means they want to move more inventory. It means they don't want, they want to sell more than they're getting. Okay, so going back to the sentiment, I think I nailed it pretty well yesterday. And have we hit the floor? Well, you know, there's events that happen that go beyond sentiment. When there's a real world event, the sentiment doesn't matter. For example, when it comes to supply and demand of certain physical things, there's sentiment. But when an earthquake hits, what the sentiment is today isn't going to really matter when the earthquake hits. So there are events that will make the sentiment irrelevant. But right now, as the sentiment stands, I'm not seeing a reversal in sentiment that's strong enough. For example, capitulation. I'm not seeing capitulation on the hands of the people who are overconfident. I'm also not seeing a lot of gloating. What happens too is you have capitulation and you have gloating. When something falls hard enough, there's a lot of gloating and people start bragging and gloating and so forth. And then there's often a turnaround and the braggers and gloaters get punished. This is kind of like anecdotal evidence I'm giving you. I'm not giving you scientific evidence. I'm giving you of what I observed for a period of like 5-6 years. And this is not 100%, but it happens an awful lot. Like yesterday, it was so eerie. I said, wow, there's got to be a big drop. Boom. Next day, big drop. More than once I've done this. It's like out of the woodwork. All these people start posting about silver, and they sound desperate. So on one of the groups that I've been reading is I don't see any humility. I don't see any I was wrong. I see people who are doubling down on their statements and they're digging their heels in. And that's not a good sign in the short term. Now, what other people have told me is that because we're in the buying zone, their concern isn't hitting the bottom because it's hard to hit the bottom. And there are many people who will buy right now realizing it could go down a few dollars. And what they are saying is that when silver was above 40, they weren't concerned about trying to sell at 42 or 49. When silver was above 40, they are very happy they sold above 40 when it's below 20. Now that it's below 18, some of them are saying that, well, yeah, you know, silver's below 18. You know, when silver's a lot higher, I will be less concerned about buying at 17 or 15 or whatever, wherever it goes. I'll be more concerned about buying in the buying zone. And here's another thing I saw. So on a lot of these amateur sites, people start posting about technical analysis and the fundamentals, and it's really clear that they don't know technical analysis. One person was saying that, oh, it's down, it's over, the pullback is over because the pullback is the same as we saw in 2008, so it's over. And they even had a chart, and they were showing some of their own metrics. But what was clear to me was this big, fat, yellow trend line that was like a slow slant. And in 2008, the price of silver touched that trend line before it went up. Right now, silver is right here. There are still a few dollars to go if it hits that big, fat, yellow trend line it had hit in 2008. And I'm wondering, how can this person doing the analysis not see that big, fat trend line and see that there are still several dollars to go, assuming we hit that big yellow trend line? And of course, there is no destiny, but a lot of people are saying that yellow trend line is calling the name of silver. Now, my final point, people who demand that you make calls and predictions, those are not the winners in markets. People who win in markets are not the ones who demand that you make calls and predictions. On the Harvey Organ thing, someone said, at least Harvey Organ has the balls to make a prediction, and it got tons of thumbs up. Well, guess what? If that's your mentality when it comes to your wealth, you should get rid of that mentality really, really soon, because that mentality is going to make you lose over and over again, right? The person who has wisdom to say, whoa, hold back, is often a lot more right than someone says, I'm going to stick my neck out. He stuck his neck out and he said $200 silver, which that is not something to admire, folks. If you think that's something to admire, it's time to rethink your philosophy on the markets. Thanks for watching.